Texas took a 2-1 lead. Then on the very next pitch, rookie Pete Incavilla hits one of the longest home runs in Arlington Stadium history. This one carries about 2/3 of the way into the left center field bleachers behind the 280-foot sign, and you can guess how far that was. Then after Gary Ward walked, Larry Parrish belts still another home run, this one in the 4th inning. Third home run of the inning, ties a team record. It just clears a wall in left center field. Texas taking a 5-1 lead at this point. Parrish also scored the final runs of the game for the Rangers as he doubled in the 7th inning drive as 2 more runs scored here. Bobby Correa won his 6th game of the year tonight. The Texas Rangers win over Detroit. The final was 9-3. Texas moves ahead of California by a game and a half thanks to help from the Toronto Blue Jays this afternoon. Actually, the Angels led early thanks to this RBI single by Rick Burleson. But here come the Blue Jays. Cliff Johnson tying the game with a 2-run home run to left field in the 4th inning. It's 2-all at this point. And then Toronto went in front to stay as Garth Ord singled to right center field, driving in Willie Upshaw. Toronto beats California. Final there was 7-3. American League scores.
Live from Arlington, Texas, the surprising Texas Rangers, leading the American League West, play host to the Detroit Tigers. Catcher Lance Parrish's 18 home runs have been one of the few bright spots for Sparky Anderson's Tigers so far in 1986. While the Texas Rangers boast of big crowds and young stars like rookie Pete Incavilla, who have helped take these perennial losers to the top. It's a warm afternoon here in the Lone Star State at Arlington Stadium as a good crowd on hand to watch their Texas Rangers, who are riding high on the crest of the wave in the American League Western Division. This will be about the first time since the year 1980 since the Rangers have played an afternoon game here on Sunday. As we take a look at the standings in the American League Western Division, you see Texas on top, California, Kansas City, and so on down the line. The Rangers playing great ball. Over in the American League Eastern Division, you'll see the Boston Red Sox on top, of comfortable lead over New York, followed by a red-hot Cleveland Ball Club right now. Toronto, Baltimore, Milwaukee, and Detroit all the way down 13 games under, well, behind the Boston Red Sox. And, well, you look here this afternoon, the Tigers and the Rangers. It will be a warm afternoon. The Texas Rangers, they have won the first 2 games of this series, and Detroit trying to get on the board. And good afternoon. I'm Don Drysdale along with Johnny Bench, and happy that you've joined us this afternoon on ABC Sunday Afternoon Baseball. Before we talk about these 2 ball clubs, interesting things happening as far as the Atlanta Braves and the Toronto Blue Jays are concerned. They made a trade, a 4-man deal. Toronto sending Doyle Alexander and Jim Acker to the Atlanta Braves for Dwayne Ward and Joe Johnson. And Johnny, you wonder if Bobby Cox might have had a little something to do with that.
Well, you think he really does, Don. Jimmy Williams has not had good pitching in Toronto up to this point. He's had problem with his #1 starter, Dave Steve, but Doyle Alexander has been unhappy, so they decided to trade him. Chuck Tanner has something up his sleeve because he's got 2 starting pitchers that he really can put into the rotation. Acker can be used either way, but Alexander has been in Atlanta. He's ready to pitch, and obviously Bobby Cox had a lot to do with it.
Well, he sure did, and of course, give Chuck Tanner right now, he's kind of smelling a little bit of the roses, and give him a little leg up, and he can be tough. But looking at these 2 ball clubs right here, Detroit, they're having a tough time, but Bobby Valentine, he's doing a great job with these Texas Rangers.
Well, he's been prepped by Tommy Lasorda, and of course he's got the emotion. He should run for senator after he gets done with this, because he's got that kind of salesmanship, and he's selling these young ball players. Not only that, he's got a great pitching staff. He's got Bobby Witt going today. What a great young arm. The Correa kid last night pitches super. Sparky raved about him. Last year, the #1 pitcher for the Texas Rangers was Frank Tanana. He threw only 83 miles an hour, and really, and strangely enough, he's starting for Sparky Anderson today.
You know, one of the things about Bobby Witt, you're going to see a great young right arm in Witt. Last time out against Minnesota, it was the first time that he has averaged for the first 6 innings 92 miles an hour or better. He can turn it loose and he can throw it. It's really going to be quite a difference between the 2 pitchers here this afternoon, because for the Detroit Tigers, it'll be the crafty left-hander in Frank Tanana, and for the Texas Rangers, hard-throwing young right-hander Bobby Witt. And we'll be back in a moment.
ABC Sunday Afternoon Baseball is brought to you by Chevrolet, who invites you to drive today, Chevy. Live today, Chevy. by exceptionally.
Hi, I'm Don Drysdale, and it's All-Star election time again. And as a 9-time All-Star, I know how much fun this game can be, especially for the fans. Now, you can help choose the teams by casting your vote in the All-Star election. Just pick up a ballot at any Major League ballpark where you see this display. And this year, it's easy to vote for your favorite All-Star because the ballot includes one player from each team at every position. And remember, the balloting ends July 6th, so get out to the ballpark and vote. The preceding message was brought to you by Major League Baseball.
And we'll take a look at the Detroit starting lineup. Leading off in at second base will be Lou Whitaker, batting second, and at shortstop Alan Trammell hitting third, and in right field will be Kurt Gibson batting fourth, and the designated hitter will be Darrell Evans hitting fifth, and at third base will be Darnell Cole batting sixth, and in left field will be Johnny Grubb with Dave Bergman batting seventh, and he will be at first base hitting eighth, and in center field Pat Sheridan, and batting ninth and doing the catching will be Dwight Lowry. And your defensive alignment for Texas: Pashorek, Fletcher, Buechele, and O'Brien from third to first. The outfield of Ward, Sierra, and Incaviglia from left to right, and the battery of Don Slott and Bobby Witt. So we're about ready to go here on this warm afternoon in Texas, but indeed a break, as there is just a slight overcast, a haze, and that is keeping the temperature down at game time. On the board in right field it says 90 degrees, so we're underway. Bobby Witt delivers low to Lou Whitaker. Whitaker hitting .269. He has 9 home runs and 34 RBIs. They appeal, they say no. Bobby Witt, a hard throwing young right-hander. And when he's right there, you look at the numbers. Now look at the innings pitched. 81 innings pitched. He has walked 80 while striking out 78. That's high to the alley in right center. Incaviglia moving over, and he gives way to Ruben Sierra. One away. John, that scoreboard here at Arlington Stadium has really made a difference in this ballpark, because it used to be where a left-hand hitter, you just couldn't hardly tee one up at home plate and hit one out of here. But since they have put that scoreboard all the way around, number one, I think it's made it a great ballpark to look at. But the ball now, it travels much better.
Well, it's blocked it out, that wind. I've heard tales that you could just, from the infield, from first base, you couldn't hit it over the outfield fence.
Alan Trammell taking low, and the count 1-0.
I was surprised to see Lou Whitaker swing 2-0. I know that they want to give him a green light, but Bobby Witt, with his background of walks, you would think.
Pulled right side. O'Brien there. Got to hurry to Witt in time. And the Tigers go 1-2-3 in the first inning. No runs, no hits, no errors, and nobody left after the first half inning of play. It's the Detroit Tigers nothing, and the Texas Rangers coming up.
Every Monday through Friday, Mike Horner drives his Chevy S10.
Lineup as they face Frank Tanana. Scotty Fletcher will lead it off and be at shortstop. Gary Ward batting second and in left field. Hitting third and at first base will be Pete O'Brien. Batting fourth in right field, Pete Incaviglia. Hitting fifth, and the designated hitter, Larry Perry. She's been hot. Batting sixth, and at third base, the old pro Tom Pashorek. Hitting seventh, and back from beaning is Don Slott. Hitting eighth, and at second base will be Steve Buechele. And batting ninth, and in center field, a youngster. Keep your eye and write that name down, Ruben Sierra. There's the defensive alignment for the Detroit Tigers. Darnell Coles and Alan Trammell on the left side, with Lou Whitaker and Dave Bergman on the right side of the infield. The outfield of Johnny Grubb, Pat Sheridan, and Kurt Gibson from left to right, and the battery of Lowry and Tanana. Just turned 33 a few days ago. The left-hander, a record of 7-4, making his 18th start of the year. Quite a difference in pitching techniques out there this afternoon. The hard, young throwing Bobby Witt for the Rangers, and the crafty veteran left-hander Frank Tanana. You know, John, you got to give Frank an awful lot of credit. Here's a young man that when he came up, you just parallel him with a guy like a Bobby Witt, because he threw hard, and all of a sudden, after a few years, the arm just kind of went dead on him a little bit. And after that, why, he's had to pitch with his head an awful lot.
Well, he's got all kinds of pitches. He throws about 6 different pitches with a fork ball, ranging from 78 miles an hour all the way down to 58, which is sort of like the Peggy Lee fastball. Is that all there is? That is a credit. You know, it's the veteran that has to find a way of hanging on. He has to develop new pitches, and of course you have to have an idea how to pitch in the major leagues. He used to be able to pitch in on the right-hander successfully, but he really has now shown the fastball in once in a great while, and then he'll throw that sky fork ball and a curve ball and turn the ball over. He's got it all, and he's ready to start against the Rangers.
And he will first face Scotty Fletcher, the shortstop, and he takes a strike. Well, you can see right there, you can almost count the seams on that compared to Bobby Witt, but it's in and over. Fletcher hitting .305, 18 RBIs. That's high. The count, a ball and a strike. In the last 4 games, Scotty Fletcher has been hitting at a .500 mark, 8 for 16. That raised his average from .291 to that .305 mark. That's all there is.
I asked Alex about Gramis, the third base coach for the Detroit Tigers, about Fletcher. He said, boy, he's just a good, solid kid. He gets to the ball. He makes the plays. He's hitting .305. He's doing well offensively for this ball club, and that's what you got to have. And of course, that's the only way you can keep in first place.
Coming over in an offseason trade with the White Sox, he can't get the off-speed breaking pitch, and he's down on strike. So we'll take a look at the scores for you in last night's game. Texas, they hammered Detroit 9-3, while Milwaukee got by Oakland 2-1 in the National League. Houston 2-1 over New York. Cincinnati 7-2 over Philadelphia, and Pittsburgh shut out the Dodgers 5-0. And there you see in the Wimbledon finals, in the men's finals, Becker over Ivan Lendl in 3 sets. Boy, that's quite a little bit of an eyebrow raiser right there, especially what maybe so much in Becker beating Lendl, but in 3 straight sets. That would make you stop and think a little bit.
Well, Ivan had to go 5 sets just in his last outing in the semifinals, and it was a tough one, and that had to be a little bit something to do with it.
That's to the right side. Whitaker will go on to Bergman. There's 2 outs to Pete O'Brien.
Number 9.
Tanana, the type of pitcher, as Johnny mentioned, he'll put a little on, he'll take a little off, he'll move it here, move it there, and just try and keep the hitters off stride.
Well, you certainly have to be patient with a guy like this. He's going to bust the fastball in and make you think that you'll see it again, but you probably won't. You've got to be able to sit on the off-speed stuff and still be able to adjust to the fastball. But when you adjust, usually you just foul it off.
Outside, and the count 1-0. O'Brien hitting .299, 10 home runs, 41 RBIs. Texas started off against the East, and they ended up at the .500 mark, 19-19. 1 ball and 1 strike. They really didn't fall apart when you figure when Don Slott went down, they said, uh-oh, what's going to happen right there, because he was hitting well. Well, all they did was go 4 over the .500 mark, 24-20. 2 balls and a strike, and now they're starting to play 40 consecutive games of this Detroit series against the Eastern Division, and that will finish them with the East. After that, when you kind of figure that out, the season's about a month and a half from being completed, as they will face everybody in their own Western Division. 2-2 the count.
Texas' biggest problem has been against the teams that really are their contenders. They're 0-6 against California, 2-5 against Kansas City, and that's 2-11. That's 9 games under .500. So you see how well they're playing against the other teams, and that's what you have to do. I mean, you're going to count the whole number of games, and they've got to play well. And if they turn it around against those 2 clubs, they can open a pretty good sized lead.
Just missing outside. Tanana thought he had it, and Dale Ford said no. I think Lowry turns around and he says something to Ford. Somebody barking out of the Tiger dugout at home plate umpire Dale Ford. Pete Incaviglia on deck. So the 3-2 pitch. Fouled at the plate.
He's painting a picture out there. I mean, I like to watch guys with great power and finesse. I mean, you know, like the Bobby Witts throw hard. I love to watch, you know, your challenging hitters, the Seavers and the Carltons, but there are just something about some of these guys. As a hitter, you just absolutely go back mumbling to the dugout. Now, it's a comfortable 0 for 4, But I mean, he is so smooth. Just watch the rhythm, the timing, and how graceful he goes into it.
That's out of play, and the count remains 3-2. Now that's about the time that somebody yell out of the dugout about the 5th inning when he's got you shut out on 2 hits. Go warm up.
Go warm up. Pete Rose must have said that 8,000 times when he couldn't. He hated guys throw like this.
That curveball hit down the line. It will hook foul and be back into the seats.
That's going to be a tough chore hitting the ball out and right today. And of course, as you talked about, the scoreboard out there has blocked a lot of that wind. But when you look at the flags, they are blowing briskly. They are straight out across the stadium. There you see in center field. But with that, anything can happen if you hit that low line drive.
Off of the glove, and they might have got a break right there as Whitaker throws him out. Well, that will go 1-4-3. Tanana getting a glove on that, so the 1st inning is in the books. It's the Tigers nothing and the Texas Rangers nothing.
And unfortunately, that's the weather picture for tonight.
Roger is a weatherman. He knows the difference between little storms.
Well, they're glad that he caught it, but first of all, he misjudged it. And the wind, of course, was whipping pretty good. You can see the fact that he starts in, if we can doing this, and said, wait a minute, let me take a right turn. Instead of cutting across, he had to go back and fight for it. That's the type of plays that you make when you're in first place. Last place Detroit Tigers have been making plays like that. Sparky says they're having trouble picking the ball.
Out here in the bottom of the 2nd inning, prior to the game, I asked Bobby Valentine, has the success, did he think it was come as a surprise to him?
It's come as a little surprise to me, but Don, when I saw the guys work in spring training, when I saw that every guy from the first to the last to arrive in spring training was willing to pay the price. You know, they're in the weight room, they're out on the field, they're doing their sprints, and once I saw that, I said, hey, we have a special group of guys here. We have guys who enjoy it and are willing to do what it takes to be successful.
And they have been successful coming into today's game. They have won 4 in a row, a record of 44-36, a game and a half over California. See right there, younger than 60 currently active major league players.
He's done a great job. You know, he really has sold himself. He has started from the very beginning to push the Texas Rangers. He dressed in a tuxedo for a 6-hour TV telethon fundraiser. He does everything he's asked to do. And of course, what I like best about it is the coaches that he's brought along with him. You know, he's got Tim Foley and Art Howe. He's got Joe Ferguson, Tom House, Tom Robson. And the oldest guy is Robson. He's 40 years old. And Joe Ferguson and Art Howe, they work out constantly. They set such a great example. And this kid right here, you can tell he's worked out a little bit.
Pete Incaviglia. What a year he's having, hitting .267, 15 home runs, 45 RBI, just fresh out of Oklahoma State. Well, when you talk about those young coaches, they are age-wise, then Incaviglia takes up high, but in terms of major league experience, they are some old pros. Art Howe, 16 years in professional ball. You have Joe Ferguson, 18, Foley 19, House 20, Robeson 18. And they've all spent a number of years in the major leagues, and of course that helps an awful lot, especially with a young ball club today.
Well, Tom House has really done a great job with the pitching staff. I watched him prior to the game helping this young kid Williams. And
that's high to center. Sheridan right there. One away.
And he spends time with him, and he knows what he's doing. You listen to him, and he's relating to these pitchers, and he's giving them an idea of what they have to do. And you see that young man right there as he goes to the dugout. He hit one last night that Alex and Sparky both said, Sparky Anderson, Alex Grandma said, would have gone over the roof in Detroit.
Oh, he hit it a ton. It was above, about 10 rows above the exit sign, over the 380 marker.
Even telling it seems like a long way.
Here's Larry Parrish.
When you say above the exit sign, you know you know it's way out there.
Wow. Anytime you use that phrase, above the exit sign, that's down low. 2 balls and no strikes. Parrish 7 for 10 in his last 3 ball games with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. Two balls and a strike.
He's about as strong a young man as there is too in the game, along with Incaviglia. He loves to hit those Nautilus machines, and he's come back after the disabled list and started to produce as if they haven't been playing well enough.
That's hit off the end of the bat, and coming on and playing it on a hop will be the left fielder Johnny Grubb.
When you feel comfortable, you know, you go up to the plate and you can relax and you can wait on your pitch. He swung at a fastball on the outside corner, and now this one an off-speed changeup down and away, and you see him stay right with it, going down and reaching out, grabbing it, and the strength, of course. The young man has a 205, 6'3", 6'4". He can even pull that pitch.
Here's Tom Paciorek down low. Good save by Lowry. Paciorek hitting .303 with a pair of home runs and a 12 RBIs. Tommy has 8 hits in his last 19 bats over his last 7 games.
He hasn't walked yet, though. He has not had a base on balls in about 120 at bats. He said, I did come close about 3 times.
There goes the runner, and he can't hold on to it. They had a shot and a half at him, and Lowry couldn't hold it.
Well, either Paciorek may have had the hit and run on, and he might have seen the fact that he had a bad break and he saw the off-speed pitch. No, he kind of locked in there, and Lowry, ball was not thrown hard enough to stick in the mitt.
1-1 to count. Now Parrish credited with a stolen base, and the count moves to 1-2.
Tommy sort of half-heartedly trying to go to the right side with 1 out. He's just got to shoot for the middle, and of course the middle is wide open for him.
For Parrish, that was his 2nd stolen base of the year. Neither club has really stolen a lot of bases at all. And Texas, that is their 20th stolen base on the year. That's to the right side. Whitaker will handle this. Throws him out. Parrish moving to 3rd.
Tommy has to do everything, really. He's done it well to keep himself in the major leagues, and you see him going away with that screwball, and whether he's trying to go to the right side, both pitches he tried to go to the right side, and with 1 out, not makes a difference. And here you see a real nice hand for a young kid that really is battling.
Don Slott hit in the left cheekbone with a fastball off of Oil Can Boyd with the Red Sox, and he is back in the lineup. You see kind of wearing that Dave Parker protective device that Parker wore a few years back. See, that's kind of just screwed onto the helmet. Take both air flaps and 4 screws, and there you've got it. And the count 2-0. Let's take a look at that, a close-up again, and you look at that. I guess you got to take it off from the back, Joe.
Well, it may have a snap that comes around as well. You see on the left and right side, it may snap in, so you may be able to snap the guard on. Art Howell got beamed just a few years ago, and he's really being a kind of an inspiration for Don to come back. And Don really is not flinching at the pitches up and in, as you might suspect. But boy, it's a scary thing. You've seen a lot of guys in their careers get beamed and not be able to make that adjustment. And of course, we're just glad that he's back.
Well, he just flat lost the ball. That's hit well left field. Grubb going back. Will have a play at the warning track to make the catch. So the Rangers are gone here in the 2nd inning. No runs on a hit, no errors. They leave a man aboard, and after 2 from Arlington Stadium, it's the Tigers 1 and the Rangers nothing. And I talked to Steve prior to the game. We talked about the new scoreboard, the difference in hitting now as compared to yesteryear.
It's a lot different. From what I understand, left-hand hitters couldn't hit a ball out of here in years past, and now with the wind blowing in, the ball will jump out better. There's a vacuum that comes out here. If you hit it high, you'll get knocked down, but any line drive has got a pretty good shot at getting out of here. It's a good hitter's park. The infield is very fast and true, so I think it's a good hitter's park right now.
And Steve Buechele having a fine year, hitting .270, 12 home runs, 25 RBIs. Well, you stop and look at some of the years of experience. There's a young man, wasn't that long ago, just at Stanford University. You've got Bobby Witt at Oklahoma and Cavilla from Oklahoma State. Well, I tell you, it's amazing when you think of the youth of these Texas Rangers and what they are doing right now. Steve's first year was in 1982 at Tulsa. And he's already got the majority of a year under his belt last year here at Texas and having a good year this year. So quite a foundation to work with. So it'll be Buechele, then Ruben Sierra, and the leadoff hitter Scotty Fletcher. The Tigers on top 1-0. One ball and no strikes. The infield, the outfield about straight away for Buechele. Like I said, you can't go to sleep on him. 12 home runs on the year.
Had some pretty good shoes to fill. Buddy Bell's down at third base, and he's playing second today, but he's had the majority of playing time at third base, and they say he can make the plays at third.
He's an excellent third baseman. 1-2 the count. Well, this afternoon, Bobby Valentine trying to get as many right-handed bats as he can in the lineup. You saw the way he turned that double play over to end the Tiger third. He looks like he can handle that position too.
Well, it was kind of impressive to see Paciorek throw it down there.
Oh, Wimpy, he just said thank you for the high hop. There's a high pop, as Whitaker will handle that. One away. And we'll take a look at the scoreboard for you. In the American League, the White Sox leading the Yankees 3-2 in the third, 3-2 Milwaukee over Oakland in the fourth, 1-0 Boston over Seattle in the second. And California 1-0 over Toronto in the third. Cleveland, boy, they're hot. 2-0 over Kansas City in the eighth, and no score Baltimore, Minnesota in the fifth. That Cleveland ball club, they've won about 8 in a row.